This week I was feeling pretty run down on Sunday. Even though I had the day off of work, I needed to take the day off streaming as well. But I did manage to do the run through of fundamentals at the very least. The goals we had this week were to beat SMOOTHBOT VOLTAIC easy and wide wall 3 targets VOLTAIC. I considered these to be pretty easy goals for the week and was excited to do some static with the new information that we learned last week. We had a gap of just 3 points to make up on wide wall 3 targets VOLTAIC and a gap of a little less than 200 on SMOOTHBOT VOLTAIC easy. Both were pretty achievable gaps to make up in my mind. Warm-ups. We did our usual platinum fundamentals as our warm-ups, and it was a pretty quiet week for personal bests. Other than seeing very minimal gains in ground plaza, most tracking went by without any improvements. We did get a pretty big improvement in popcorn. While the scores are still pretty inconsistent, I believe that I need to be treating it more as click timing rather than passive, where I try and track the target for a moment before I shoot. Bounce 180 was a surprisingly close a number of times throughout the week, tying my personal best over 3 times. I believe the reason for this is the inconsistency in my target selection and my shaky transitions. Overall, static saw some very consistent scores, some small personal bests, and a lot of close calls. I am super pleased with how my static has improved since last week. Target switching was a surprising success this week, with Vox target switching VOLTAIC getting a personal best, and even more surprisingly, Kin TS hitting platinum out of nowhere. I believe that this has been due to my focus on smoothing out my transitions and my shaky stops when reaching targets. Benchmarks. SMOOTHBOT has become the hardest benchmark for me lately. I really can't seem to get close to my personal bests, and this is the second week that I've had it in my goals. I haven't managed to make much improvement, but I did notice one very important thing about my technique this week. I have gotten lazy. I have not been enlisting my fingers to do any work. So when SMOOTHBOT takes those long strays and I'm not following it closely enough, and I need to make small adjustments, I'm using my wrist to make the distance up when I really should be using my fingers more. This might have been caused by me using 24 centimeters per 360 for so long. My fingers weren't necessary for smaller adjustments. The notes for this week will be focusing on using my fingers more at 30 centimeters per 360. When we got to wide wall 3 targets, after having some really good runs in static in our warm-ups, it didn't take long at all to hit a new personal best and finally get a platinum static score. Going from 110 to 114 points set us over the edge of platinum by 1 point, and that was in our very first run. We took some more runs and we did see some consistently high scores, but nothing that was surpassing that 114 points. This improvement in static I believe is down to the advice that we got last week on confirming our targets before we shoot, and we have seen throughout all warm-up static scenarios too. So I'm excited to see the growth to come for me in static. So this week, we finally got a static score to platinum, and SMOOTHBOT continues to find ways to test my patience. I'm going to keep grinding on SMOOTHBOT next week. I think it's a huge weakness overall in my aim, and as much as it frustrates me, I think it will be huge in trying to wake my fingers up again. I will be using Air Angelic 4 as a second precise tracking as I sprint to platinum. Hopefully, if I can't get SMOOTHBOT, I can manage to get Air Angelic. And in Fantasyland, where I do get one of these to platinum, I will be choosing 1 wall 4 targets small as our replacement, and maybe I'm being a little bit optimistic choosing a third scenario though. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to check out last week's video where we took on SMOOTHBOT target switching and won.